may have to borrow some glasses. Dad pulled off so many comebacks over the years that I really didn't buy it when finally the Freeman Hospital said they could do nothing more for him. I still half expected a last-minute rally, followed by the usual instructions as to what to bring in for him. The Times, dark chocolate, shortbread and Lucozade. I grew so accustomed to him coming back from the brink that I often used to tell him he would outlive me. But in the words of the great John Irving, one of Dad's favourite authors, everybody dies. I'm going to die too, so will you. The thing is, to have a life before we die, it can be a real adventure having a life. Dad certainly had an adventure, a big, fat roller coaster of a life that for those of us in the cars behind him could feel very bumpy. We just had to hang on and hope for the best. He was full of all sorts of surprises, and long before there was ever an Austin Powers, Dad had already styled himself as an international man of mystery. In Poland, he drove a dark blue Mark IV Cortina with the license plate IWL 007. He never lost this unique sense of style. No one carried off a tweed suit or a bow tie like Dad, and at its best, he was absolutely impeccable. But it's the weird stuff that he sometimes wore that I shall miss the most, like the shorts, long-sleeved shirt, pink socks, and Dunlop green flash plimsolls that he once wore to pick me up from school at the end of term, his +4s and his terrible Pringle jumper, or more recently, a furry lumberjack hat worn with his Barber, tracksuit bottoms, and a Dark Side of the Moon t-shirt. So it felt like a big responsibility when we were choosing clothes for him to wear today. His grey suit, a new pale blue shirt, a tweed tie from Isla, and of course pink socks. We were so focused on doing him justice that we forgot his underpants. The undertaker said it didn't matter, no one would know, but of course we went back. He may be dead, but there's no way Dad is going to heaven commando. It's one of the miracles of death, I think, the outpouring of love that follows, not just for the person who died, but for those who lost them, and amongst ourselves for each other. Lord knows we all need a lot of love in what sometimes feels like this crazily changed world. So many people have been so kind. Messages, cards, phone calls, flowers, food parcels, and we are hugely grateful for this. The love expressed for Dad has been immense, from family and from the many people involved in his care these last few years, all of who, without exception, burst into tears on hearing the news. There have been lovely recollections from his many friends in North Shields, Jesmond and Heaton. Dad had a wonderful 45-year friendship with his best friend, Trevor. They worked together in Poland and were in almost daily contact, and I know that Trevor will miss him sorely. As Trevor said, Dad was the first person he shared his thoughts with on all matters, and that's the mark of a great friendship. There were common themes from people. All remember Dad's humour, his kindness, and his storytelling. Dad told great stories, some true, some embellished, and some that were magnificently crafted whopping fibs with bells on, and all told with the winning smile that carried him through life. The carers at Lawson House sometimes had to be chased from his flat by the manager, told to get on with their work rather than sit enthralled in whatever tale Dad was weaving. He left a trail of beautiful and often broken-hearted women in his wake. We talked about this a lot in recent years when I threatened to contact them all and write a book about his exploits from their points of view. He came up with the title, 50 Shades of Shit, he said it should be called. It's that sense of humour that I shall miss the very most about him. I've seen Dad face so many challenges, financially, physically and emotionally, and despite some very dark hours, he never lost the courage to see the funny side of everything, to find the humour amidst the chaos. He was irrepressibly charming, still flirting with the nurses hours before he died, and he had a wonderful knack of seeing the potential in others and helping them to believe in themselves. He helped the son of one of the staff team at Lawson House to successfully apply to Cambridge recently, and there are many others that he encouraged and supported. When we contacted Bronwyn Nash, to let her know that Dad had died, she said this: "Had it not been for him, I would not have embarked on my mad double-bass career. There was no encouragement elsewhere, but Michael saw something in what I was trying to do. I have always been grateful for that." Dad thought big about everything and about everyone that he loved, and I learned an enormous amount from him. He got me into John Irving, J.P. Donlevy, Betjeman, Mozart, Bourneville Chocolate, Robert the Bruce, Clint Eastwood films, and a whole lot more. Growing up, he seemed to know everything, the answer to every question on any subject. He brought us up to be broad-minded, not to be afraid to challenge, but always to be courteous, kind, and sociable. Our early lives were full of interesting people, fabulous and often raucous dinner parties and gatherings, Burns nights and Christmases with strange food, wild boar, pheasant, hare, wood pigeon. He would have loved to have planned this funeral, and I've often heard him in my ear this past 2 weeks. When eventually we do get to give him the lavish send-off that he so deserves, I have no doubt he will find a way to be involved, as he did with everything. He came up with the idea for a Christmas event at Lawson House, which is now going ahead in his memory. Dad loved Christmas, the family and the sheer optimism of it, and I can picture the four of us here at countless midnight masses, for which we were always late, and I can't bear to think of Christmas without him. Never ordinary, he was the slyest, most obstinate, maddening and bloody-minded man, and there were times I could have cheerfully battered him to death with a frying pan. Sometimes he would ring me back just so that he could hang up on me for a second time, and he could wind me up in a way that thankfully no one else can. He was also kind, hugely generous and wonderfully funny. He used to rub noses with me in lieu of a kiss. His hands were always soft and warm, and his eyes, beautifully blue, were always full of love and mischief. He leaves an enormous hole in my heart and in my life. And I am forever grateful to have had such an extraordinary day. I want to leave you with his words, the words that he was so insistent must appear on his gravestone. He tried his imperfect best. May God bless Dad.
Thank you, Siobhan. Thank you, Dominica. If we could